Yo. Yo. Yo.
Welcome to the 188th Wing podcast, where you get your in-depth information about what's going on in your wing. I'm Master Sergeant Chauncey Reed, and I'm here today with our Wing Command Chief, Scott Manamon, Captain Tracy Mankins, and Staff Sergeant Zach Grounds. This episode will be a discussion in creating a culture of innovation, taking care of our airmen, and how those two things tie together. It's all about inspiration and purpose. But first, let's start with some introductions.
Hi, I'm Captain Tracy Mankins. I'm the Logistics Readiness Officer in the LRS Squadron. That's me.
I'm Chief Master Sergeant Scott Manamon, and I've recently taken over as the Command Chief of the Wing. Excited to be here and looking forward to some inspirational talk about how we can get there.
And I'm Staff Sergeant Grounds. I am the base's dietary technician, and that is my full-time position starting next week.
Dietary technician.
So essentially my job, I want to be able to help the airmen on base to, if they're struggling with their PT test or their waist measurements, help them get over that hump if they're stuck, or if anybody that is going through a disease or any of health situations, I can help them there with their diet.
Well, if somebody needs your help, how do they go about utilizing your services?
That would be a phone call or an email to me so we can set up an appointment. It's still fresh, and I still haven't worked all the kinks out, so I still have to develop the program when I get in that seat next week. So it's hard to...
Where is your office at?
It's going to be at Med Group.
Well, I'm so thankful that you were all here. We have such a great group of people here for this episode. And let me just start us off by asking a very simple question. What is innovation?
It's a way of captivating our airmen's tools and resources, their skills and abilities, and applying it to their everyday mission here at our base. It's so important for us. The one thing that makes a difference between our military than the militaries around the world is we have a superior educated and excited and mission-oriented workforce compared to the rest of the militaries around the world, and that's what sets us apart. And so it's important for us to have that knowledge that our skilled airmen have. All you have to do is spend a few minutes with these young airmen that are coming out of boot camp and tech school just to realize how special and intelligent and well-educated and just excited to make a difference. I'm amazed by them every day. I get to meet them.
Well, we have one of those guys here today. Zach.
Yes, sir. That's me.
That's right.
What do you think about innovation?
I think innovation is changing the way of thought of the old military. So I know we're going through a lot of restructures and a lot of changes in the military currently, but I think getting down to the nitty-gritty, it's changing of the way we used to think in the past and adapting to our future and moving forward.
Ma'am, would you like some input?
Well, yes, sir. You asked me to talk, and I'll talk. One of the neat things that I've been looking at lately is, the generational differences. And so I've tried to bring that to our younger airmen to say, what do they want to see? How could they see the Air Force moving forward? And it's really neat because, like Chief said, they are just amazing and super smart to use their skills in our advantage. I think we're going to have to shift from that old mindset, just like he said. So totally agree. It's exciting.
Let's go into the idea of creating a culture of innovation and what that means.
Sure, I'll go first. We live in a world that is driven by rapid changes in technology and environment that include aggressive and captive global competitors. Therefore, if our nation's military is to remain the best in the world, we need to do our part to challenge the status quo and make the necessary changes in our Air Force today so we're ready for tomorrow's fight. We got to recognize that good enough today will not make us successful in the future. If we think good enough today will help us succeed, we'll fail tomorrow. So our leaders have the responsibility to provide clear guidance so that you and everyone at this table and all airmen at all levels are empowered to problem solve, to come up with unique solutions to make smart recommendations and decisions. Because if we fail to innovate, we risk losing the certainty with which we've defended our nation's interests for decades. We risk losing quality airmen, our credibility, and our ability to secure our future. We must utilize the innovation and the ability of our airmen to build enduring advantages. So I have a few ideas and ways that we can do that. We make sure we put a high emphasis and value on innovation within our organizations. Our airmen need to understand the why and where they fit in the mission.
Yeah, the purpose.
Correct. So if our airmen understand where they fit within the purpose of the National Defense Strategy, where do they fit in and why it's important, they'll get excited about innovation. But it needs to start from the top down, from Colonel Patterson's vision, mission, and goals, and priorities. We need to make sure that every airman understands where we're going and why and how we need to get there.
Well, that's a really good point. And from the very top, innovation is an idea that's being pushed right alongside with taking care of our people.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. That's what makes it so important.
No, I totally agree. I think that airmen definitely struggle with trying to find their spot in the mission. It's definitely a thing that if you are in finance or one of the jobs where you're sitting behind your desk, it's very difficult to see the impact that you have on the airmen and the mission. But if you are out on the front line, TMO, LRS, security forces, you see your job immediately working. So it's always difficult to find that, but with some help of the higher-ups and your supervisors, I think you can find it.
And I think we can, I talked about making sure everyone values innovation, people understand the why. There's some ways that we can develop the culture of innovation, even within our training programs. We can build within our personal training programs in medical and LRS and security forces and the ISOG, we can develop an innovative mindset and make sure our airmen are freed up to say, hey, what are some, we just went through this exercise, are there some creative ways to improve our processes? Can we do it faster? Maybe do it in a way that reduces redundancy and really ask, even during our training programs, of our students that we're training through their 3-level, 5-level, 7-level, we can make sure we're reaching out and trying to get those ideas. And there's ways to do that. Some of the groups have some mission improvement program processes where airmen can do that. But we can do that across the wing and develop certain ways to collectively gather the great ideas that are out there and make sure the airmen know that they have a voice.
Some of those limitations to innovation seem to be the mindsets that this is the way we've always done it, or you can't do that without this form. And it reminds me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, well, you got to get this stamped. One of the things that seems very relevant in incentivizing innovation is promoting it in our airmen. What type of incentives do you think we could do? What about you, Zach? What would make you really want to go out of your way to develop something spectacular and innovative?
I mean, I always want to improve the processes that I see. I want to go into a new shop and see the processes they've been working with and look for new ideas, because people may have been sitting in those chairs for 4 to 6, maybe even 10 years, maybe longer, and they've just always been stuck in this mindset of, oh, this is how it's always been done. I like to go in and change it just because I think it's going to work better for myself, my team, and the people behind me.
So you're just going to change it even if it's already working?
Well, not everything.
I just like to go in and change everything.
Hey, that's a go-getter, though.
That's right.
That's a go-getter.
That's
Empower
it.
him.
It's
Let
better
him see
than
where
just
he
sitting
goes.
there.
Yeah, I agree, ma'am. Empower him.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak more than what these guys are because they're doing an amazing job. I think it is closing that gap and creating that buy-in. Like you said, feedback, open door policy. The older generations have to take into consideration how the younger generations feel, what they see as the good ideas. We request that in our office all the time because there is a big gap. and I'm talking about the deployment office, but we have some super high-speed younger airmen. Incentive might be, teleworking. That's like, I hate to say, we got to make a campus like Google. I'm definitely encouraging those bright ideas that come to the table. It's really exciting. We've seen a lot of good ideas in the past, with like Innovation Lab and some of those stuff that we could utilize as a wing. I think we're going to go through a lot of changes, and I think if people can't get excited about that, we need to work on their why, because once they realize that it's a bigger picture, what we're going to versus where we're at right now too, there's so many things that are possible. So many things.
I think that's a good place to when we start talking about the why, we can look at the 6 fights to win. The fight to compete, the fight to get into theater, the fight to get airborne, the fight for air superiority, the fight to deny adversary objectives, and the fight to sustain the fight. And that fight to sustain the fight, that's where we start talking about taking care of our airmen. And that's where we start talking about innovation and empowering people to achieve greater things, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. I think to talk to your point earlier about incentivizing, we can do this. There's certain things in our toolbox that we can do. We can recognize people, with awards and decorations. We can come up with an innovation award. Sometimes there's other incentives like time off awards that we give people for achieving a certain threshold of innovation. Maybe monetary. Sometimes it's appropriate to just go give someone a handshake on the ops floor or in the office saying, man, thanks for doing that. That was awesome. And just recognizing someone in front of their peers. But there are other efforts out there that we're starting to come up with at the wing level to incentivize innovation, to give people additional incentives besides job satisfaction, like Airman Ground said. Just seeing a process that took 20 hours that he was able to reduce down to 2. And just being able to be recognized in front of your commanders or your peers sometimes is enough. But being able to give them time off or other awards, but making sure, to tie back what you said, is we're creating an environment where people feel like they matter, like their ideas are considered, and that they have a voice. And that's also what we're trying to do, is create an environment where people feel like they matter, they enjoy coming to work every day, and they know they're making a difference.
I think you hit a really important part of that right there is, do you realize that you matter? And we start talking about purpose, we start talking about why. Ultimately, all of our systems, all of our processes, they come down to people. And if our people don't understand how important they are, then our processes are going to suffer. So I would say you are all very important. How can we tell you? How can we share that with you and make you understand and appreciate that? Because that's our goal, right?
Absolutely. From the beginning of Colonel Patterson's command, he stressed the importance of giving people proper development, proper feedback, how important the supervisor matters. In today's Air Force, there's a number of issues that are affecting our airmen, and the role of the supervisor has become more relevant than ever. The supervisor not only is required to document members' performance under their direction, but also they're supposed to assess their mission capabilities, their deployment readiness, and mentor them for the increased leadership abilities to lead the Air Force into the next century. Our airmen are airmen 24/7. That means that leaders should be concerned about the welfare and development of their airmen, regardless of whether they're full-time, part-time, on duty, off duty, or on leave. So some of the areas that we at the wing are trying to focus on is making sure we're providing open, honest, and timely feedback. Basically helping our airmen understand or get a clear picture of what good or right looks like. And, we need to make sure they know what they're supposed to do and how they're doing, and give a clear picture of that. And we want to make sure we're providing a good picture of what PME looks like, that all our airmen are getting educated and getting everything they need to be promoted to the next level. They understand where they can go for the blueprint. They understand where they need to succeed amongst their peers, but we're doing a good job helping airmen know what the expectations are, and we're promoting good feedback and providing good feedback so they know where they need to go to succeed.
So that's a process that we're looking at, supervisors executing, right?
Correct.
So what are we doing to set supervisors up with the right direction, the right information and tool sets?
Well, a lot of that's already been provided. I think, the RegAF, Chief Bass, Chief Williams have all collaborated and done a good job and rolled out. It's called the blueprint. It basically talks about airmen, the enlisted force structure, where you fit within that structure. It's given you everyone remembers the old pyramid structure and how do I get from one level to the next. It's all been revamped. And every airman can find that on their desktop. And it's called the Air Force Foundational Documents. It's got the blueprint, it's got the prepping the line. Also, there's a new Air Force JQS that just came out on leadership for airmen, for NCOs, and senior NCOs. And it's a JQS that you can walk your airmen through to make sure they're understanding how to supervise and lead people. So we're going to, actually the Air National Guard is the one that actually piloted it for the Air Force. And they've done a really great job and have seen great success in that. But we're making sure we're holding one another accountable. Part of that is holding each other accountable, making sure we're giving proper feedback. EPRs are done, Airmen Comprehensive Assessments. Forgive me, not EPRs, but EPBs.
EPBs, yeah.
As things have changed, so hasn't the vernacular and the acronyms, EPBs. So we're ensuring that our supervisors are, and we're holding them accountable, but I'm holding myself accountable as well. And we have to be deliberate about our development of our airmen. We have to have a plan for every airman under our charge to make sure that we can leverage and create opportunities across the squadrons, groups, and wings. And what I mean by that is if someone's been in medical and they've kind of reached their full potential, is there an opportunity for them to go somewhere else and be developed more within another squadron, maybe for a short amount of time? But are we considering that in everyone's development? And there's Master Sergeants and Senior Master Sergeants that could probably benefit from going into other squadrons or groups and learning other areas and learning to supervise and promote development across the wing.
That sounds like a great idea. What about for AGRs?
Absolutely. There's a way to do that. And we're talking about that currently across the groups on how we can allow some of our tech sergeants and master sergeants to go into other groups where it makes sense and help them get developed and learn the other mission sets.
Diverse ideas can feed innovation also.
That's right.
We want to create a culture of innovation, which means empowering airmen to make decisions, try new things. How do we manage that whole process while still ensuring that we have good order and discipline?
I think that having the open door policy and having those conversations are very good, but I also think it comes down to telling your airmen why. If they want to innovate something and fix something and it may not be the best idea, explain to them why it's not the best idea. Don't just say, no, that's not going to work, because that's going to shut them down from any other future innovations and ideas they have. So,
But why?
But why?
But why?
From us coming back and talking to you and getting shut down again?
But why? I have a 3-year-old.
I was going to say, it was probably your kids were involved in that one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Communication, I think, is the key. I know that's one of Colonel Patterson's primary objectives is to enhance communication across the wing. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we're sitting here doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. So how do we, as an individual, how do we participate? How do we enhance communication? How do we make sure that we're asking questions and providing information?
And that's what we always try to do in LRS is just keep it that approachable style to where if somebody comes into your office, make time for them. Make sure you're not, too busy to not listen. Because it can happen at the most odd times, right? If somebody were to come in with a great idea, like you mentioned, you want to make sure that you're fully open to them. No preconceived ideas, no schedules in your head, like we've been talking about being just a little bit distracted. Just giving them your full attention. And again, I think that comes back to caring about them. So if you really know them and their communication style, you can better fulfill whatever their needs are. So,
I mean, I totally agree with that. If I walked into my officer's office and they said, I don't have time for you right now, I don't want to come back to you after that. So
you're like, well, I tried.
Totally agree.
I'm done.
Caring about people. That can be a hard one sometimes. Society these days seems very self-centered and selfish. Our whole idea is that here we're a family, right? And that we're going to support each other. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah, we have to, create a culture where people feel welcomed and feel important and feel like they matter. I mean, that's what our core values are. We're a part of the profession of arms. If we want to create an atmosphere where people feel like they love coming to work, like they matter, then we need to model that, right? That's why we have the core values. That's why we're a profession in the Air Force. And, as airmen, we all belong to that profession of arms. And every officer, every enlisted, every civil servant are members of this selfless profession. And we're all accountable for meeting ethical and performance standards in our actions, and similarly accountable for the failure to take action when appropriate. So the distinction between pay grades lies solely in our level of responsibility and the degree of accountability, but not in our level of commitment to the professional of arms. So we all share this common attributes in this profession, attributes of character, courage, and competence. So we qualify as professionals through this intensive training, education, and practical experience that we go through, but we all have committed ourselves to the profession of arms. And so that's why it's so important at every level and in every squadron, every group, that we're all modeling that. And that's why we hold to the core values, right? Integrity. That means I'm going to do what's right all the time, regardless of who's watching. Going to be committed to service before self, that the airmen feel like they care, right? I'm not just going by and say, hey, how you doing? And walking by. I'm actually waiting for a response to, like, oh, I'm doing great, or, I'm having struggles. But do the airmen feel like when I ask them as a chief, or I ask them as a supervisor, how you doing? And I'm actually waiting for a response.
It's kind of a Southern tradition to, say, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And not want a response.
Well, and I'm from Massachusetts, so my wife's always like, hey, how you doing? That's the same thing up there, but people don't care how much you know, right? They want to know how much you care. And they can tell that you're authentic. They can tell whether you really care about them. So it's important for us not only to hold each other accountable to the core values, creating a culture where people feel safe and they feel like they matter, but they also know that their leadership cares about them. They mean what they say. They do what they say. And and even excellence in all we do. We don't settle for mediocrity. We're constantly excelling and growing in that area. That's part of innovation, right? not settling for the status quo, or we've always done things that way. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to have a little bit of challenge with that because, we have older folks, and I'm one of those guys that likes checklists. And if it isn't in the checklist, but we've got to learn to get beyond those old things of the past. But I can't tell you how important it is for us to model good order and discipline across the wing, where if people want to come to work, they're happy in their work, they'll innovate. They'll constantly feel like they matter. But we have to, as professionals, make sure that within our squadrons and in our groups and within the wing, that we have good order and discipline within the wing, because the wing will thrive. And so we need to make sure that we're creating an environment that is successful.
What is good order and discipline?
I'll put it this way. As professionals, we're defined by our strength of character, our respect for others, our lifelong commitment to the core values, and we have a responsibility not to engage in nor tolerate behaviors that harm our members in our formation. You've heard it said, the behavior you walk past becomes the new standard. So if I see something that's wrong, see something, say something, appropriately hold people accountable.
Sorry.
And that's applying purposeful and proper progressive discipline. For me, that's what good order and discipline is. And then, of course, first and foremost, me as a command chief and any of us in leadership, we need to model what good behavior and good order and discipline looks like. And because, if a lot of you guys talked about your kids, they'll imitate you. Of course, I shave every day, and my grandson walked behind me and was putting on aftershave right after me because he saw me doing it.
Monkey see, monkey do.
The monkey see, monkey do, and it's human nature, right?
No, I couldn't agree more. I think that you spoke on family a little bit, and to me out here, I definitely feel like it's a big family. I'm out here Monday through Thursday. I get to see everybody. I get to meet everybody. And, I couldn't feel more at home at this place rather than any other stations I've been at. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I love every airman in this wing. When I took over in my former squadron, I had a similar conversation of how important it is to create an environment of family. And I recently went back to my former wing because I had to go there for knee surgery. And they're like, oh, when are you coming back? I'm like, I'm not. Arkansas is home.
It's a hard idea to create a culture, a family in a group of strangers. Everybody just needs a Jessica Wilson in their group.
Absolutely.
She'll make you feel like family,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
I think it's a pretty good saying, embrace the suck. It definitely brings everybody together. So if you're all doing a crappy thing together, it makes you feel a little bit close-knit.
Gosh, such a great place to work, though. So many fantastic people. And we're talking about two different worlds almost, though, with, the full-time staff. And, we tend to, really know each other fairly well. But then you got a whole nother world of DSGs. And how do you bring them into the fold?
I think it's making sure when they're here, they feel valued. When I took over as the chief of the ISRG, and I had every one of them, all 109 of them, come into my office over 4 months and have 30 minutes with me. And I got to know them. I got to know what their goals were. I got to know what their concerns were, and let them know how serious I was to helping them succeed. And that helped them feel like their chief really cared and was there for them. And then I got out from behind my desk, and I got on the ops floor, and I made sure I recognized the airmen, and I stayed engaged with them while they were here during their regular scheduled drill or while they were on AT. And then if their kids were sick or if it was birthdays, I made sure I made phone calls to stay engaged with them. Because like I said, unless you show them how much you care, they really won't know.
No, I totally agree. I think it's very difficult for a lot of people that are higher up to still maintain that personalization with their members. So I appreciate that about you and finding that out, because that's very important. Because as a staff sergeant and airman and priors, I think that making that face-to-face, and instead of just, hey, how you doing, in a quick 3 seconds, and that's the first time I see him in 3 months, and then don't see him for another year, I think that's very important.
All right, so we're getting close to ending this up, so I want to just present one more question, one more idea. What do you think the most important aspect of creating a culture of innovation is?
I think we have to be innovative to create innovation. And I say that because, like the podcast, this is a step forward to reaching our younger generations, to include other technology that we could incorporate to show that we are innovative, to help them see that it can be done also. So I know you were talking process improvement, those types of things we should be doing every day, but the wing also has to be starting to innovate. And I think if they see more innovation also, and of course it starts at the top, we create that emphasis on innovation, but I think they want to see it too. So I think we need to get forward. We always feel like we're really behind when it comes to technology and things, so we have to show that we're not. You guys are working off all sorts of high-class technology, and
the communication environment is a continuously changing, evolving process.
We want to hear more from the commander. We want to, they want to be in the know. So as a wing, just like you're doing now, just be in their faces. I know that's a lot for you because you're PA, so sorry I threw that out there.
We have a lot of programs for communication, and to me what it comes down to is how, not how many ways can we communicate, is how effective can we communicate with focus. Where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck?
Yep, that makes perfect sense without burning people out too.
Absolutely. And so what Colonel Patterson is doing at the wing level is going to develop our plan for innovation, wing mission, vision, and goals, and make sure that innovation is part of that and is going to discharge that to the group commanders, squadron commanders, and to the airmen to start implementing this innovation spirit across the wing. And because what we have to do is just let our airmen know what their left and right boundaries are. They know the why or where they fit in the mission, and they're freed up to innovate and improve their processes as long as they, are ethical, moral, and making good decisions, and they're following within the boundaries that their supervisors or commanders have set.
Yeah, don't break the law to innovate. I think we can all be clear about that one.
Sometimes you have to break some rules to get the job done.
Ask for forgiveness.
Policies
no.
and rules are one thing. Law is a no-go.
Right. So
know your boundaries.
There's going to be some guidance coming out from the colonel on the direction we're heading.
I want to quote directly from the Air National Guard. In their guidance, it says, "Do not wait for bureaucracy. Leaders at every level need to cultivate a culture of flexibility and empower their airmen to proceed until apprehended."
Meaning they did something wrong, probably.
Oops.
Until they break the law.
Until they have to say sorry.
Apprehended. Until they reach their goals as well, too. Yeah.
Well, it's basically they're saying give them the leadway
Right.
to go until you feel like, maybe they're going a little bit too far and you need to rein it in a little bit.
Rein it in a little bit. Right. And that's good, though, but that shows you've given the airmen the leeway to think outside of the box, right? That's what we're talking about.
I want to emphasize that a really important part of this is to have the mindset to go after it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and wait on someone else to achieve this for me. I'm not going to sit here and wait for someone else to have the idea. It's like, go after it yourself and figure out a solution, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so here's one for you. Give me an example.
The bod pod.
What's the bod pod?
Ooh.
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
What's the bod pod?
So the bod pod is a machine that we are trying to get it at Med Group and take that whole asset over so I can run it and help our airmen out more efficiently. So that is my goal.
Don't wait for the bureaucracy.
Exactly.
Just take it
I'm
over,
already-
man.
I got a great idea for that.
I've actually had a lot of really good ideas.
The biggest loser contest. For over a 6 month, maybe a year period, who loses the most percentage body fat gets this $250 cash award.
Sounds good. Is the wing going to pony up the $250?
We got to figure that out.
I'm sure we can
There's
come
an
up with
entry
that.
fee.
There we go. Yeah. No, I've definitely had a few good ideas with it. I was talking to one of the chaplains last week, and he had a really good idea about doing like, so I'm Serve Safes qualified, so I can cook in a kitchen,
Right.
and run the kitchen. And he was talking about doing like a cook show. So, and working with PA and doing a cook show with you guys, and like maybe once a month, like this is how you can do this recipe.
Who was that?
It was Major Garrison.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've never done that before, so we definitely shouldn't start now.
Exactly.
It's not innovate.
Good idea, Major Garrison.
Yeah, and
That's
you can
not
do,
how you're
you
supposed to
can
respond
showcase,
as of today.
you can showcase
There's
Leader.
a little irony, okay? Sorry.
a meal from like a Paleo or from
Yes.
Atkins or South Beach or Weight Watchers.
Exactly. So I thought that was a really good idea because a lot of my tech school, like nobody would think it, but our last 3 weeks of school was in the kitchen.
Wow.
So
Oh, awesome.
Gosh,
I
that
would
sounds
look,
like
I
fun.
would look forward to something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey, hold on a
absolutely.
second. If
I wouldn't be the frozen middle on that one.
do like if
Yeah.
I get to eat some of
Could we
it, if I
eat it at
help. I
lunch,
mean,
though?
Yeah.
everybody's cooking, and then we.
Tracy
so
hasn't eaten yet.
I can take you over to the kitchen. I got you.
Thanks.
But
well, that was a great conversation that we just had.
Absolutely.
You got any closing remarks? Anything you want to take away?
Yeah, I think if I could say anything to the airmen is that we need you. Your nation needs you. I need you. We need your innovation. Our nation's military needs you. If we're to remain the best in the world, we're going to need you to do your part to challenge the status quo and make the necessary changes in our Air Force today so we're ready for tomorrow's fight. And like we said earlier, good enough today will cause us to lose tomorrow. So we need you to innovate and be the innovators that help us to get to the future. As far as all the enlisted force, we need you to develop your airmen, provide open and honest feedback. Remember that you're an airman 24/7, which means that you as leaders, we're all leaders, should be concerned with the welfare and development of one another, regardless of whether you're full-time, part-time, on duty, off duty, or on leave. And supervisors, be deliberate about your development of your airmen. Have a development plan for every airman under your supervision. And provide that environment where airmen feel satisfied. They want to come to work. Realize that you're part of the profession of arms. Every officer, every enlisted, every civil servant, we are members of this selfless profession. And as professionals, we are defined by the strength of our character, our respect for others, and a lifelong commitment to the core values. So I need you, Colonel Patterson needs you to be your very best. And thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you all so much for being here today. That's it for this month's 180th Wing podcast. We will have new episodes released each week of drill, so keep a lookout. In future episodes, we will continue talking about what's happening in the wing. You will have a chance to ask the commander questions, and we will meet some of our airmen to learn about their Air Guard experiences. Join us next time.